The Boston Red Sox are in the market for starting pitching, as it's very obvious, and it seems like we're going to see mountains moved in order to go out and land some young prospects from the Seattle Mariners. I'm here to break down all the bits and pieces on this episode of Red Sox Digest, but first remember, if you're a part of the 86.5% currently watching this video, not currently subscribed to the channel, please scroll down if you want to stay up to date on everything Red Sox news. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys so very much for everything, but now let's get to it and break down the huge updates between Boston and Seattle. Now, we've been covering this for about a week or so now, how the Boston Red Sox have obviously been in the market for starting pitching despite just acquiring Garrett Crochet. But now, despite after that, they are still looking to acquire more pitching, whether it be starting pitching or just pitching in general. And the Seattle Mariners obviously have one of the best rotations in all of baseball. They have a bunch of very, very good talent, whether it be young or old, and it seems like they may be willing to deal some of their talent. Now, we're first going to start with this article written by Adam Jude, and as he cites Rafael Devers, as well as he goes on to say, the Mariners are well positioned to take advantage of the starting pitching market in a potential trade for Luis Castillo. And he goes on to say, in an ideal scenario, a trade would allow the Mariners to target their two coveted bats to upgrade the lineup. Details with Rafael Devers, as I just mentioned earlier. And then it goes on to say this, and this is where things get very interesting because it's kind of a different angle than we were taking earlier surrounding the Red Sox and the Seattle Mariners team. The Boston Red Sox have been persistent in their pursuit of a Mariners starter, a source said, even after the Red Sox traded 4 prospects to the Chicago White Sox for Garrett Crochet on Wednesday. Going on to say, earlier this offseason, the Mariners shot down a 1-for-1 offer that would have sent one of Seattle's young starters, even Bryce Miller or Bryan Woo, to Boston for 24-year-old first baseman Triston Casas. Now, I almost fell out of my chair because I was unaware that this was something that came across the table already, and this intrigues me a lot because if I wish Seattle would have said yes to this, I would think this would be phenomenal for the Boston Red Sox. I love both of these options. You heard me in previous videos breaking down the Seattle Mariners trade and the possibility of this trade, and I said the only person I really don't want to trade for it would be Luis Castillo because of the age and because he's the oldest one out of the possible starters that the Mariners currently have on their roster. And these two guys were the two guys I threw out as obviously because Kirby is not going to be traded. And Logan Gilbert is obviously not going to get traded because they are basically ace material. And again, they're 24, 25, 26 years of age with an entirety of a career out in front of them. They're probably not going to be moved unless someone sends the entire system over there for one of them, which again should be granted. They are great pitchers who are only going to get better as we saw last year and going into this year. They should be very, very good going forward. But these two guys, without a doubt, are very good at the game of baseball. There's no way around it. This is currently Bryce Miller's Baseball Savant page. Very, very high run value when it comes to the pitching run value, the fastball run value, and the off-speed run value. The breaking ball run value obviously diminishes just a little bit under the league average, and then he just sits right in the middle of the pack for a lot of these categories, these pitching categories, and some of them obviously barrel percentage and then average exit velocity. He is very far below league average, but again, the run support, not giving up a lot of runs, and honestly, a damn good pitcher. No real way around it. And very, very young. Obviously, here is his baseball reference, not his baseball savant, going into his age 26 season this year. And again, last year posting an ERA where 4.32 in his first year in 2023 as a 24-year-old, and then last year posting a 2.94 ERA with a 3.4 WAR. He's slowly but surely finding his rhythm. Just give him a year. Give him another year, and he will really find his groove. Obviously, it gave him 1 year, and he dropped his ERA by almost 2 full points. He's going to progress and fully gain his experience. Last year, going 12-8 on a Seattle Mariners team that really needed more help offensively. Obviously, if he had more run support, that record would probably be drastically better. And again, maybe even the overall statistics would not look as bad. And then we get to Bryan Woo, who really is a very complete pitcher here. Obviously, another very young piece for the Seattle Mariners that, again, because of that and because of his overall production, has so much value. And it's not hard to understand why they didn't accept a 1-for-1 trade for Triston Casas, despite him being only 24 years years old, and having the potential that he does, these two arms in the starting pitching market that we currently have, it being very inflated, it being on a very, very, very high demand, it doesn't surprise me they said no. They are smart. They understand what they have, and they understand the situation they are currently sitting in. But if I were Boston, do not shy away. Maybe Casas and Yoshida. See if Yoshida pushes the needle just enough to possibly acquire either Bryce Miller or Bryan Woo, depending on who the two are. Or maybe possibly taking out Yoshida and throwing in a prospect. I'm not mentioning one of the top 10, one of the top 15 prospects in our farm system, but a filler, someone later down the line that, yes, we could maybe miss out on, in the next 8 years. But again, let's go out and acquire one of these big names. I love this idea. I really do. Bryan Woo or Bryce Miller, I think both of these guys would be great fits in Boston. They are extremely young. They are extremely capable. And if you give them an offense that is better than the Seattle Mariners that we saw, if you did not watch a lot of their baseball last year, they struggled putting points on the board. Their offense was not very good despite having Julio Rodriguez as well as others on that team. They are just incapable of putting enough runs on the board to beat some of these substantial teams despite having the pitching that they currently do. And again, they have a damn good starting rotation in Bryce Miller, Bryan Woo, obviously Castillo, and then the list goes on. But we'll quickly highlight Woo, in really one of the best pitchers in the MLB when it comes to his base on balls percentage. If you look at the percentage there, in the 100th percentile, don't see that very often. Obviously, pitching run value, fastball run value, both way above league average, something we'd love to see. And then obviously the off-speed billing, the 1 run value, just below league average. His breaking ball values just above league average is something that you need to see. Expected batting average, very, very high percentile, 94th percentile. Really a thing of beauty. Barrel rate is very, very low for these batters attempting to hit off of Bryan Woo, which again, no surprise as we see the fastball and the breaking ball value is extremely high. He's able to get these guys to roll over on their pitches. And again, here is his baseball reference from this year. Again, 2.4 WAR this year compared to a 0.6 WAR the year prior. Nothing but getting better over in Seattle. It seems like posting a 9-3 win-loss ratio with a 2.89 ERA after being at 4.2 the year prior. Absolutely dominant. And I know that some of these guys, the baseball references look eerie similar, but again, they really are. This kid was 23 last year, 24 this year. Obviously, Miller was 24 last year, 25 this year. And again, they just are attempting to gain more experience. But who would Boston be giving up in order to get someone like Bryce Miller or Bryan Woo? And again, it would be Tristan Casas. And here is his baseball reference. Again, he is another extremely young piece. A lot of Boston's roster is relatively young. Obviously, the Mariners in their starting rotation outside of Luis Castillo is extremely young. And again, Casas being 24, going into his age 25 season. If he can stay healthy, this kid has more potential than the majority of the Boston Red Sox organization. And I mean that literally and sarcastically. Obviously, he is very young and he has so much potential. We could get 40 home runs out of Casas and he could hit 285 with 40 home runs and 90 to 110 RBIs without a doubt, and especially hitting in the middle of this Boston Red Sox lineup, surrounded by not necessarily a bunch of speed, but again, enough speed in Duran and a few other pieces in Abreu, as well as obviously other slugging in Devers and obviously Yoshida and other players in this Boston lineup. It seems like he has more trade value than lineup value, in my opinion, right now, only because, and the only reason I'm saying that is because of the starting pitching market currently. This kid is very young. If he is the big piece in a trade with one other, whether it be Yoshida or another small piece, depending on what it is, I feel like we are going to be capable to go out and acquire either Bryce Miller or Woo, and I think it would boost this Boston Red Sox team. Obviously, I don't expect him to come in and be Garrett Cole from when he was with the Astros, going 21-3, just absolutely dominating and posting a 1.94 ERA. That is not what I expect. But for him to come out and really establish themselves on a young Red Sox team and be one of the focal points for the next 5, 6, 8 years for this Red Sox team, while getting a bunch of run support, which would make them look a lot better and not as stressed out on the mound, I think it could result in being very, very, very good for this Boston Red Sox team. I thought I had Tristan Casas's Baseball Savant page. That seems like I do not. But again, if we look at his batting average from this past year, hitting 241 this past year, but again, only in 243 played appearances in a total of 63 games. Again, not relatively healthy last year. And again, this is not the first time, as last year he played in 132 games. Closer to what we're looking for, but again, 63 is not going to get the job done. If he cannot stay healthy, and these Boston Red Sox don't want to put faith in him to stay healthy, I think the best idea is to move him for a starting pitcher, especially to the Seattle Mariners team. It seems like he's going to be one of the most provoking pieces to the Mariners, if you will, being so young, being a dominant bat. They are so intrigued to find, because again, the lack of run support last year definitely hurt them. And again, Casas could come in there if he fit the system well, put him at first base, put him at DH, and allow him to hit home runs all over the place in Seattle, and allow the Boston Red Sox, to benefit from another starting pitcher that could be acquired, and again, could be a part of this organization for years to come. That'll be it for this episode of Red Sox Digest. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.